Hello, and welcome back, everyone, for another episode of This Week in Eorzea. Joining me, as always, is Pyra. Thank you so much for being here. Hey! We have some news today, which is fantastic. There's a little bit going on.
Yay! After like a 2-week drought.
Oh my word. Yeah. So with nothing but Twitter as company for a couple of weeks of news cycles, it's not great on the emotional spectrum, but here we are. We do have a few things to talk about, so let's get straight into the news. Okay, for anyone who wasn't aware, there is maintenance tonight, like just over 2 hours from now. So if you have yet to finish the Moonfire Fair, if you are on another data center, if you haven't completed your weeklies, make sure to get that done earlier than usual today because you're going to be out of luck in just a little while here. So go and complete that. I meant to do Moonfire Fair on my alt, but it is what it is. What about you?
I honestly forgot that there was maintenance tonight until today, and I was like, wait a second. I feel a disturbance in the force. So, Moonfire Fair on my main, yes. Alts, no. Completely dodged that too. Sadly.
Yeah. I did make sure you do get your weapon if you are progging the raids, though, because next week, tomorrow, we're getting our 7th and we can get our first weapon from the normal raids. So,
good tip.
Super exciting. It is. It's gonna be a bit of a bump there because I think the highest we can get right now is 710 for a weapon, isn't it?
I think so. I could be completely wrong. Is it 730 for this weapon, I believe?
720, isn't it?
I should know.
I
have it. I have it because I got it from, from doing Savage. So yeah, I'm like, it's good. Good thing. Remember to do it. Don't skip out on M4.
Okay. Yet again, DDoSing. I was kicked out 4 times on Friday night when we were trying to do our map live stream. It was hard. And like half the party was like disconnecting at various times. It's not getting any better. Were you impacted by any of the Friday night shenanigans?
So I was actually impacted by yesterday's shenanigans. Not Friday night, but yesterday I was with a bunch of friends and FC mates, and we went over to, I think, Ultros. We're on Primal still to do a hunt train. And it was a very large hunt train, and it was like just dozens, like probably hundreds of people just getting wiped out little by little. Just like every few minutes, more people would DC. The bosses were getting really hard. We went from them getting killed in less than 30 seconds to like 5+ minutes because there was just everyone was getting DC'd. So I did get DC'd as well. It took me a little while to go in. I was seeing people have constant 90Ks and couldn't get back in at all for a while. So it was definitely a heavier hit than I feel like we've seen in a little while.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky we were on Hallie at the time, on Dynamis, and so the login to get back in was only like 300-ish people. But people after maps going back to their home servers were in waits of over 600. So definitely wasn't a fun night.
Yeah, it was, I think after getting kicked out last night, it was like 1,200 back in queue, which was not the worst, but definitely still painful. And you could even tell as soon as it was time to go back to my home world, like that was the only world I was allowed to transfer to within my data center. They're like, nope, you go home or you stay where you're at. You're not going anywhere else. So I was like, noted, I guess I'm going home.
Aw. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, these denial of service attacks are just someone somewhere upset that people are having fun. That's literally all it is. It's the processing of an extreme amount of traffic to a website in hopes of crashing it. In all honesty, like I think Final Fantasy XIV has done a good job of minimalizing the impact. But still, I mean, we're affected.
been months too, I feel like, of the constant DDoSing since like pre-Dawn Trail at this point. So I'm hoping maybe, I don't know if the hotfix will address any of that tonight into tomorrow, but I wouldn't be mad if it did.
Just so you know, there is a 7-hour maintenance. So that is also because they are taking down the European temporary data centers. So they just needed a bit extra time, but who knows what they can sneak into 7 hours. So.
For sure.
And you have some news on Gamescom.
Yeah.
Or PAX. No, Gamescom is the one that just finished. PAX is the one that's coming up next week.
We're going to keep swapping
We're going to keep swapping
which one is one.
Okay. Okay, so what is this about a Shogun multiverse? What?
So there is an article on the Gamer website. So if you haven't heard, Gamer News website. And I guess there is potential talk whether the Warrior of Light might be becoming a Hingashi Shogun in multiverse. So, I mean, with all these shards and everything going on, there's just a lot of different talks in the works, and I didn't get to read the full in-depth of the article, but I thought it was kind of interesting thinking about, like, are we going into some sort of Marvel multiverse situation with the Warrior of Light in future patches? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm sure there are words that were trying to come out there. So, like, we're just going to become
I'm like, what am I reading?
We're just going to become like a planes traveler, and yeah.
I don't know if, because I believe Gamescom was in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they just gave him some really good alcohol or what, but he was just, maybe multiverse is the way forward. I don't know.
Yoshi P, what's wrong with you? But that isn't the only piece of news Yoshi dropped, is it?
No, not at all. So, potential spoilers? Do we want to call it definitely spoilers? Dawn Trail?
Definitely some post-patch theory mongering, if nothing else. Yeah. So it is the end of Dawn Trail spoilerage.
Yeah. So take this 3 seconds, look away for a minute if you're not there yet. But Yoshi P, according to the Gamer as well, has confirmed that Alexandria is from the 9th Reflection. So I know a lot of people were kind of speculating that to begin with, and I think you mentioned something relating to like the crown, but it's nice kind of hearing him confirm straight out that, you know, there are more things to do with these reflections, and that it is a confirmed thing now.
Because honestly, about that whole part of Dawn Trail, there are just so many unanswered questions. So to get some sort of evidence that there is going to be more of this story in the post-patch kind of makes us feel a little bit relieved. Like maybe there might be more answers forthcoming.
I like how, you know, I definitely wasn't expecting that from Gamescom, but it is kind of nice because I feel like it does give us like that little teaser sampler of like, you know, a lot of us have felt, and we talked about it a few weeks ago on the podcast about like, there's just so much unanswered. And so I'm wondering if that was just like a little teaser to keep you on the hook for what's hopefully soon to come in post Dawn Trail patches.
Absolutely. So it's a nice little article. I will include both the links to these in the description after the live stream. It talks about the other Sphene and how each person's reflection on each person's part of themselves on different reflections, how together they are, how one impacts the other. So we have seen like a bunch of different Geralts and a bunch of different Rowenas, and maybe there is a link between all of them. I mean, we're seeing some connections.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the multiverse comes into, and it's going to be interesting seeing if they really lean into that side of the story, because we've seen the Rowenas, we've seen the Geralt, whatever else, shirtless men, but like what else is there? And is the Warrior of Light part of that in more ways than we know currently. So I'm not someone who like obsesses over theory crafting, but I do enjoy myself a good like theory session about everything in the game. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see if that is actually something, or if that's just Yoshi P getting really drunk in Germany and just spewing off a bunch of nonsense. So, or both.
Or both. Okay. News. Is that all the news? Okay, there is another piece of news. So, ties into today's hot topic, but technically is news. So, the upcoming Alliance raid is going to be based on Final Fantasy XI, the first Final Fantasy MMO. That is celebrating its 22nd anniversary this year. So a very long-running game. Just mind blown. So in order to celebrate and to let Final Fantasy XIV players experience the game prior to to re-experience the game or experience the game for the first time prior to the raid release, they've got a few deals going on. So first of all, if you're completely new to the game is like hardcore on sale. They wanted to make it as cheap as possible and as easy as possible for new players to get to experience it. But the other one is if you've played at any point and you have an active Square Enix account, but your characters are inactivated, they will let you play for free until September 2nd. So you don't have to pay, free login. As long as you've played in the past, they will let you play again to see kind of what's new.
That's a fantastic deal, honestly. Especially because I know, as a 14 player who never got into 11, it's like, you don't think of going, like for me, I don't think all the time of going back, but like, I would absolutely take part between now and the 2nd to kind of like dip my toe in with like no strings attached, for sure.
Absolutely. And anyone who watches my stream, you can be assured that I will at least spend a few days between now and then back in Vana'diel. What strikes me the most, like, it's very nostalgic to me. I played for several years, back when it was the thing, like back in 1.0, like Final Fantasy 14, where I was like, I'm gonna stick with 11. That's what I was doing. And the moment I came back, like I came back last year for a couple of weeks, just the music hits you and it's just nostalgia from the word go. That's what really draws you in, like the Sandorian theme, the music. There are reasons why this game has been around 22 years and still has live servers with active players. And it's still a paid game. It hasn't even gone free to play. So the fact that it's able to sustain itself after all this time really speaks to the fan base. And we can only assume that Final Fantasy XIV is equally popular for many of the same reasons. Soken, right?
Our gem in the world.
Right? So that leads us into today's hot topic, which is, how did Final Fantasy XI survive so long, and what changes did it have to make along the way that we should expect to see in Final Fantasy XIV? So just for the sake of transparency, you haven't played 11, right? Or you have?
I've dipped my toe in for less than an hour, so I want to say no. I got overwhelmed with the controls. So realistically, no, I have not. I'm a newbie.
That's fair. And I mean, because it is an older game, it's not as intuitive or as easy to control, but they have come a long way. So like playing Final Fantasy XIV, the experience you and I had back in A Realm Reborn is not the experience new players have today.
That's fair.
they've instituted a lot of like quality of life changes, like flying and mounts and that sort of thing that would have made our lives back then very easy in comparison. But we're going to discuss some changes that we will probably see, and I would like to get your opinion on them as to how they might implement it for 14 and what that would feel like to you. So the first key longevity strategy that Final Fantasy XI used was, how do you combat a potentially dwindling player base? So the longer the game goes on, the more potential that people are going to move on to maybe newer or shinier MMOs. Now, the graphics update is a good step in keeping more people here longer. But I mean, once the game hits 15, 20 years, I mean, you're going to have to expect that there are going to be fewer players. So one of the strategies they used is not only the implementation of like a duty finder system or a duty support system, but companions that are kind of like open world duty support to help you with fates, to help you with quests, to kind of substitute in all ways for living people. So if you had like companions like your Chocobo, but a number of them who had different roles, who were maybe known NPCs that could join you in your quests in the open world, would that improve gameplay potentially into the future? And what would you want that to look like?
I definitely think it would, especially I think of a lot of times going back to older content and like fates, for instance. Like, I still don't have my fates maxed out in Shadowbringers and Walker just because I kind of didn't do them when they were current. And having a system like that that could kind of like, I could go in the open world and take people with me and like make that experience a little easier, I think would be awesome. Especially if they do it like they do the current trust system, where there's like little dialogue or kind of like little notes in there, or like kind of like quirks of the characters, I think would be a really cute system to implement. And then it would help a lot of people who maybe they didn't do something when it was like current, or, you know, maybe it's a lower level than the current content, and then you can kind of get through it without having to struggle. Because even with Party Finder and FC, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes really it's just a little extra hand would be nice. Another thing I'd like to see too is, I always think of like going back to like you know, the other scions, or like the people who are kind of like the NPCs. I can't think of their names, but they were always in like the zones, but they weren't like part of like that core scions. I would love like them, like bring some of them with us that we like kind of always saw those like B tier, C tier like NPCs, but it's like, come on, let's go kill some like random zone monsters with us and maybe give them a little personality of their own.
Absolutely. Like, you're talking Hoary Boulder and the rest of them, right? Yes.
I want Hoary Boulder to come with me.
No, and that's probably something that we might see introduced in the game within the next 10 years is a way to help support you in the open world that adds more of that kind of... It adds a community feeling that you're missing with actual people. Because they don't want it to feel cold and to feel mechanical, and it's like, oh well, let me bring out my AI bots to help me clear this fate. It's no, I want Hori by my side while I go do this quest. And the more interactions like duty support, the quests, the battle cries, the kind of flavor to it, the more of that they add, it adds to the game as opposed to take away from it. And so I think those could be very popular changes. Now, a lot of people are kind of against this sort of thing being added to the game because they feel it takes out the MM of the MMO. But, I mean, on the other hand, some people prefer being alone in an MMO. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm definitely I'm in the MM category where like I'm a very social person. So like a big reason why I play is the social aspect and getting to make new friends and connect with people. However, I do recognize that there's a large amount of this community that kind of like either can't get into it, or they need a little bit more of an icebreaker to kind of get them to like put a party finder up or to like really try to like look for people to hang out with. And I think that the system could definitely, like a system like this could benefit those groups of people who maybe don't have some of the social skills, or maybe they don't want to be with people. And then also I feel like there's also, with how many expansions we have in the game now, there's a lot of content that some of the more max level players just don't want to go back and do because they've done it for so long. And I think it would help encourage new players to the game to do those types of content, like Fates and Korthas, or, you know, Fates back in the old zones, without having to feel like they have to rush through the content to catch up with the max level players. So kind of something to help balance that as well.
Absolutely. Anything that they can do to add more enjoyment to the rest of the game, because as players kind of slip out, the players that you're going to end up losing are probably the players on the cutting edge, the players who are doing the raids, the savages, the ultimates are kind of like, okay, well, what's the next best thing? Whereas a lot of the hardcore fans, or the people that are there reading every storyline, doing every side quest, who will still be in Stormblood for another 2 years, like those are the people who are really going to benefit for something like this. No. The other thing that I saw them do that adds to their longevity is they've found a way to revise quests to speed you through some of the larger grinds in the game and to take you through an alternate path of the expansions. So, for example, a quest that you used to have to do as part of the main story that was super grindy and really RNG and kind of terrible, they replaced with an alternate way you could complete that quest that is much easier, that leads you directly to one of the future expansions. So you can kind of sidestep your way around some of the story if you choose to by taking that path. So it might be possible that in the future we see some alternate way to bypass some of A Realm Reborn, or some other optional ways we can get through that story and kind of route through to the more recent part of the game.
Now, with that system, I'm actually curious too, is that something where it's an either or do they switch it permanently, like the alternate route?
It doesn't block your ability to do it the other way, no.
Okay, so it's kind of like a option. I mean, I feel like we started getting some of that, I guess if you want to call it quality of life improvement, when they started reducing and kind of like thinning out A Realm Reborn a bit. But I do like the way that system that you're talking sounds, because it gives people a chance to do it kind of authentically as it was. Or, you know, we can kind of cut a little bit of the fluff away and get a little bit faster to go to the next step. I think that could be something that helps people too, especially those that are really trying to get to the end, either to meet up with friends or something of that sort. And maybe like the books, the level skip and the MSQ skip isn't for them, but kind of gets them faster without having to go through all of the original content.
Absolutely. So we've been talking for years about this problem. I'm going to even call it the Final Fantasy XIV problem, because you have, it's a very exclusive problem that I think only exists for this one game. And that's that you have a fantastic story-based game that has a huge level for entry of hundreds of hours of quests to unlock the features that you want in the game. So the Final Fantasy question is, do you find an alternate path to skip all of that? Or do you find kind of like skipping a pebble across a lake, like skipping it along the surface, way through it so that you save time but still make the entire journey? So that is the question that Yoshi P needs to answer, is do you give people alternate branches to get into the game, or do you get people rocks to skip through it? So is there a benefit to one or the other in your opinion?
I think there's a benefit to kind of skipping through it, but kind of glazing off on the surface. It's hard to say because I've been playing for so long and I do love this game.
Mhm.
However, I feel like one of my biggest gripes with, say, the MSQ skip is kind of, I feel bad for a new person to like lose all of that context and really just be thrown into one of the newest expansions. I think a system like that they could kind of get the TLDR, the high level surface story quests, could be really beneficial because it really could include people in that world building without having them, oh, go bring this pail of water from this side of town to that side of town and then bring a letter back. Like, just all those little silly,
Right.
fetching quests that we always have to do, which I think when you're in the moment is fine, but if you're really trying to get forward, I think we could really benefit from cutting that back for new players that start 10 years after the game's initial expansion now.
Well, that's it, is the new players don't have the same experience we do. So when we started in A Realm Reborn, we had years to do 50 levels of content before anything new came out. So we got to experience that. And then Heavensward came out and we had a couple of years to experience everything 10 levels had to give us. And so we got to explore pretty much all of that content because we had the time. Whereas new players today, I think they are able to binge it, like watching a series on Netflix or something. You're able to just go next episode, your way through the entire MSQ. And so things like Endwalker, I can't imagine, are going to have the same like gravitas that it had for people who lived every single one of those years in Eorzea. I can't imagine it does if you're speeding through the MSQ in a month or two. So, or maybe I'm wrong. Do you know of anyone who powered through the MSQ who was like, I really, really enjoyed every minute of this?
I definitely have known some people like that, but I've also noticed that some of the knowledge, it hasn't sunken in as much. Like, it's very like surface level, and then like some of the details get kind of fuzzy. Yeah, that one's like super tough. I also feel like kind of like exactly what you said, where unless they're in it, they're never gonna get the 100%. That was kind of like something I mentioned with the Korthus Fates. Like, I remember being stuck in there for months because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I wish for like a system where they can still get some of that without having to just default to either the heavy grind or the shiny price tag of the MSQ skip, where it's like, oh, I'll just go fast and erase all of those years of content.
Yeah. But I mean, as multifaceted as this is something that Yoshi P is gonna have to solve, and sooner rather than later, because what happens after the next expansion that adds another couple of 100 hours to an MSQ grind before people can play? Like, I would have expected a solution with 7.0. In fact, it was on my bingo card that there would have been at least an announcement saying, hey, by 8.0, this is what we're going to implement. But the fact that we haven't seen it yet means that they might even still be on the fence as to what approach they're going to use and how they're going to break it to a player base, especially with people who are very passionate about the story and who don't want to ever mention skipping any of it. I heard those people exist. I heard those people exist. I got cookie delivery, I guess. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. So yeah, are you? I mean, you're kind of more towards pro story, right? Like, you're not a hardcore like.
Yeah, I'm not a hardcore like story I love the story. I think people should try to do it. Like, I definitely vote for people to try to do it if that's something that they think they're gonna like, just because I think it adds so much. But I'm also not like live, breathe, die, Encyclopedia Eorzea, everything lore. Like, I love it. I'm not that extreme.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And I know people are, and if I were Yoshi P, I'd be afraid of them too. I think it was I think it was a big step reducing the price of them with the launch of Dawn Trail, but they're gonna have to come up with an ultimate solution to the Final Fantasy XIV problem. We're gonna see that. We have to see that in the next 5 years. I would be kind of afraid for new players joining the game if it takes more than 5 years to get that one figured out.
Absolutely, especially with how much, like, I never used to think that there was that much that they couldn't get through quick, but now at level 100, I'm like, there's a lot to get through. So it's like some solution, because if not, that could definitely lead to people bouncing before they can even get to the end because they're just too overwhelmed.
Absolutely. The third thing that we will probably see in Final Fantasy XIV that Final Fantasy XI did was the implementation of alternate currencies to purchase items you would typically buy on the market board. So, in a dwindling population MMO, things like the market board kind of become less utilized because there are fewer people placing items on it, though the price of the items are going to go up. So you're going to not want to use it as frequently as you are currently doing it now. So things like current level arms and armor, like crafted armors and stuff, there would be alternate currencies to help you buy things like that so that you wouldn't be waiting on hopefully finding someone who can make it for you or making it yourself. So it's a tricky one to unleash because there are a lot of gillionaires out there whose livelihoods depend on the creation of items. So there would be some stipulation, like an item would have to be X number of years old before it could be purchased this way. What are your thoughts on a plan like this, and what would they have to consider before unleashing it?
That's a good one. So I don't know why, but the first thing I think about in this game is that there are a lot of resources that I feel like become obsolete after the expansion. Crafting materials, for instance, like things that you can gather, just very obsolete. And the market does this weird thing where for certain items it goes and it becomes almost valueless, and then because of the rarity or because of the least, the fact that people aren't gathering it anymore, farming for it anymore, and then suddenly skyrockets back up, and then it kind of does this dip up and down. So I feel like that would have to be a very picky system, like you kind of noted, like because of how much money people have and how the market board is like insane sometimes. But it would have to be a really picky system with the currencies. I would almost, and I don't even know if I would rather this system or if I'm just thinking I would rather it off the top of my head. But kind of like how tomestones, we always have poetics. We always have the newest one and the second newest one, but then those currencies kind of die off after a while, and then it kind of gets repurposed and we have a new one. I almost wish we had some of those things for items on the market board that were then becoming obsolete, just because we have such an oversaturation with like things in the game, and sometimes they just literally kind of sit in the ether for a gil a piece. And it's like, what do we do with those things?
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a break off of your question a little bit, but there's so much on the market board that I feel like is just useless that I don't know if a system like that necessarily would work. I'd be curious to hear if you had anything that you would think of for like a system like that with 11.
It's funny because I was one of the first people to join the Dynamis server when it was released, like day one, server up, I created a character on Hallie. Just to run around a brand new, fresh world with that brand new world smell, because I had never done it before. And the first thing you note upon logging into a brand new world is there is nothing on the market board. The market board doesn't just auto-populate with a number of things. There is zero, nothing, nada at all on the market board. And for all the time that Hallie has been up, there are some things that still have never sold on the market board. And so you do get this sense that there are items that have some sort of obsolescence, or there's been newer ways to get those items that are easier than farming them and putting them on for sale and having someone buy them. So I think they have a good way of finding out which these items are based on their sales rate and how often people are listing them / purchasing them. Like, for example, if someone's listing them and they buy right away and another one doesn't sell until someone else lists it, then that's maybe an item that has a much higher demand for purchase than sale. And I mean, even though Final Fantasy XIV isn't an MMO that really pushes armor, like, you know what I mean? Like, as you're going through the MSQ, especially if you're a new player, like playing through it all at once, maybe every 10 levels, you kind of look at your gear and go, hey, maybe I should do something about this. Or you're like going through the duty finder and it stops you like, hey, you need 6 more item levels before you can enter this MSQ dungeon, buddy. Just then you kind of pay attention to it. But I think armor has always had this bit of a meh about it, really. And even though every vendor in every zone sells current level armor, how often have you purchased armor that way?
Rare, especially in recent years. And I think, too, speaking of that as well, a lot of armor recently like that is also a lot of reskins. So I feel like they gave up on, like, everything has to be unique for leveling, and they're like, meh, just slap a fresh coat of paint and call it a new thing.
Exactly. So what if we create this alternate system where Momodi, through the Adventurers Guild, says, hey, adventurer, earn these adventurer tokens, and we will give you this adventurer armor that kind of maybe upgrades every 5 levels or so and has a unique design, something really like that stands out in game as something that hasn't been done. Maybe it's even armor that levels with you. Like we've seen like the Minfina's earrings and stuff that can level sync to your level. Maybe you can have upgradable gear that you don't have to replace. Especially if you're grinding hardcore through the MSQ and you would be swapping out armor every like 2.5 hours. So I think there's potential there. Again, if they're smart and they find a way to have it add impact to the story as opposed to take away from the story.
I think that there's something to that, especially for the older expansions. Like, part of me for the current expansion, it is fun saying like, hey, and I won't name drop because I don't want to spoiler for anybody who has their Dawn Trail things out, but you know, level so-and-so dungeon, let's farm that for the gear because A, the gear is better, B, looks cool. So I think that there's something to that charm in the current expansion, but in some of the older expansions, like, I think a system like the Minfina's earring or something like that could be really great. And then if they still wanted to add those items in older dungeons, we have so much gear that's level 1 glamour. I don't think that that's a bad idea. I think a lot of people would still run that type of content for something like that too. Absolutely.
Honestly, I still have a lot of Oren Vale's armor in my glamour dresser. Aurum Vale just had the most unique gear, I think, out of A Realm Reborn, just like the smalls, and I even liked the look of like the medium armor and stuff with all the spikes. It was just gotta love Aurum Vale, guys. It's the best.
Do you know? Do you? I have a little bit too much trauma from Aurum Vale.
Oh man. Okay,
so Shisui was the gear that I had to keep going back more for.
Okay. Yeah, but that is Stormblood. What is your favorite dungeon in A Realm Reborn? We're a little off topic now, but I gotta hear this. What is your favorite A Realm Reborn dungeon?
I don't even know if it's... See, when you ask me things like that, my brain's like, I don't even know what a dungeon is. Dungeon who? Never heard of her.
Okay, it's chat. Tell me if you're in there. What's your favorite A Realm Reborn dungeon? And if you have an answer, we'll try to sneak it up on screen here. So, yeah. In the meantime, what one of these kind of speaks the most to you, and would you want implemented sooner rather than later?
That is a great question. So we have the currency. We have the skipping or kind of like fast progression track through the story. What was the first one again?
The open world duty support.
Oh, that one. That one, absolutely. I just feel like there's so much benefit to that for old and new players, like right off the rip. I think it could be something, with a Hori Boulder, for instance, we can add a little bit of more flavor to those characters that we haven't gotten. We've gotten some screen time, but not a whole lot. And then I feel like if I have to go back into an older Fate grind session and in Shadowbringers and Endwalker, like having a system like that where I don't have to try to beg and plead people to come do Fates with me in old zones, like that would just be so key. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would love to see armor progress, like level syncing armor. And I would like this to be an alternative to my full armory chest. Like, if I had a suit of armor that could sync with my level, then all of these subclasses I'm leveling up kind of after my main could maybe share it, and I wouldn't have to have like a full armory chest, maybe.
That just sounds like a dream from a universe far, far away.
That's fair enough. Okay, has anyone mentioned a favorite A Realm Reborn dungeon?
Oh, right here. Also, I remember one for myself too. Hawk Manor. Just from the vibe.
Okay. It's a very creepy vibe.
Yeah, spooky, goofy.
Okay, you said Hawk Manor. I say Hockey Manor. They say it's because I'm Canadian. What is it? Do we know?
Maybe that'll have to be a vote.
Has there been an official pronunciation of H Manor?
Knowing our luck, it's going to be pronounced a completely different way, and we're both wrong.
Sastasha's opening area is very pretty. We know this because we've seen it so many times.
So many times.
But it does
have
like, glowing coral, and yeah, it's very pretty. Okay, anyone else?
Hoagie Manor.
Hoagie Manor.
Hoagie Manor.
Waggy Manor.
Waggy. I want to call it hoagie. It's just sandwiches.
Okay. I mean, we've got 3 now. 3 contestants. Oh my word. Okay.
Such devastation.
So speaking of polls, let's move on to our community check. So last week we asked you guys, what's up with 16? Have you played it? Have you not played it? Do you want to play it? Do you not care? And we have tallied the results. Is there a drum roll? I think we keep trying to press drum roll and we don't know. No. No, there is no drum roll.
Soundboard.
No drum roll. Okay. So the first question the first option was you will play it when the PC version releases. And how many people chose that?
So 59 people voted for that they will when PC releases, which was about 24, almost 25% of all voters.
Okay. And how many people already played it on the PS5?
A whopping 32%, 76 voters voted that they already played.
Awesome. And what about those losers who had no interest in it whatsoever?
Well, 22 losers. You're not a loser, but maybe in this instance, 9%.
9%. Okay. And how many people will one day?
82 people, 34%. So that was the best, like the most winner. That was the winner. I will one day. So I don't know if it's just because the 16 train slowed down a little bit, and maybe some people are waiting for the far day away where we maybe get a discount on the game. But I guess it's something that people want to do, but not a prio overall.
Yeah, no, and I got some really nice comments on that poll too, and one of them stood out as being like, people are still excited to play the game, just not as excited as they were like a year ago when there was so much hype for it and so much like news and flashy bits and pieces, teasers, that sort of stuff. Like, it has definitely died down. And I think you might be right that now that it's been so long, people are like, well, I can wait a little longer and get it like 30% off or 40% off. So
yeah, I'm in the camp of I believe I'll play it when it releases, especially because it'll be a great opportunity to stream and go with my community and have them see me go through it. However, I was definitely more excited a year ago than I am today about it because it just felt so new and fresh. And now that there's already been, 2 DLC expansions to it or patches to it, it's like I already know some of the spoilers. I'm still excited for it. However, I wish I could have been able to play it at release for sure.
Okay, so thank you so much to the few hundred people who voted in that. Thank you so much. This week's poll is going to be up on YouTube and social shortly. This week, we want to know whether or not you've played 11, or whether or not you have plans to, just to have more context behind the Alliance raids when they come out, or whether you want it all to just be one big surprise. So definitely let us know. We appreciate everyone who votes. Thank you so much.
Even the 22 of you that chose no for 16.
Okay. Listen, you're not losers, but
backpedaling, Debbie.
At least go support Pyra when she streams it, okay? And give her a little bit of love.
Yeah, okay. I'll need a lot of it and well wishes and good luck.
Okay. Tip of the week. Tip of the week. Do we have a tip of the week? We do. The challenge log. So anyone who doesn't know what this is, you need to stop what you're doing right now and figure out what it is. So I went way too long without knowing. This is the best way to get experience, not only on your battle classes, but on your crafters, gatherers. Fastest way to get MGP each week. This gives you gil up to the wazoo. What is the challenge log and how do we get it? I was like, I don't remember.
I'm old. I don't remember. It was there forever.
That's it. So those of us who know, and those of us who don't know anything. So,
I don't know anything.
I don't know anything. I didn't even look up what quest you need to do to start it. So what you need to do, I'll put the link in the description below. once you unlock it, it goes on weekly reset. So every Tuesday kind of starts fresh. So every Monday you're cramming to get the last few done. Lots of experience, so much benefit. This is a key feature of the game that has no introduction whatsoever. There's never going to be a pop-up box saying, hey, don't forget to unlock your challenge log. There's never going to be an NPC that says, hey, want me to tell you about the challenge log? Like, you literally have to go hunting for this, but it is the best investment for a new character you can get. Period.
Absolutely.
The word. Okay. Shh. What are we not talking about this week? We are. You don't know. What we are not talking about this week is WoW's latest expansion. See, there's a bit of competition, I think, between people who play the W game and good people. And
they're trying to roast everyone today. Watch out!
I'm on fire. So there's been a little back and forth. We've had a bunch of people hating on Dawn Trail, and now a bunch of people are going on and being like, hey, this is the best expansion WoW's ever had. And there's a lot of back and forth there, some competition, trying to get people on either side to engage with the other and cause some drama. So you know what? I'm just not going to talk about it. Those who are playing the W game and who are enjoying it, fantastic for you. I am so happy you are playing a game you enjoy. For those of us who are playing Final Fantasy XIV, who are enjoying the game we play, thumbs up, good job. But I don't got anything else to say. WoW expansion, I'm putting you to bed. Do you have any thoughts?
I have never played WoW. I've never had interest in WoW. I do enjoy a good meme, a good WoW versus Final Fantasy XIV meme. However, I've never been into the whole like, oh, this us versus them. It's this. No, I'm okay. Like, if you're having fun, go have fun. We'll have fun over here. You have fun over there. If you cross over, great. But if not, go play W game.
Absolutely. Honestly, I spent 6 years playing W game. I understand. Both were great in their own ways, in their own times. I think we could all just get along if we tried.
Aw. Is there an aw?
Okay. Is there an aw?
There's no aw. There's a gasp.
Okay. Well, that went on longer than I expected it to. Okay. Upcoming important dates. So we are still talking about the PC port for Final Fantasy XVI releasing on September 17th. And the free login campaign for Final Fantasy XI is ongoing from now until September 2nd. So, are there any other important dates? I guess PAX West is the 30th of August is when it starts.
So PAX West starts, I believe, the 30th. One good thing to note for those who don't have any intention of going to PAX is that there's going to be a really sweet PAX panel for Final Fantasy XIV, where you can watch on Twitch to join lead UI designer Kei Uragiri, I believe, as he discusses in-game quality of life updates, group pose, and more. So G-posing, quality of life. If that's your kind of thing and you want to watch a panel about it, it'll be on Twitch and probably YouTube for free. And that's this Saturday at this Saturday, 8:31 at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay. Dog had his say too.
She agreed in the other room.
Okay. I think that's the week. I don't have any other buttons to press here. Other than to ask, what are you up to this week and where can people find you?
Yeah, so y'all can find me Discord, Twitch, YouTube. I'll probably be live a bunch this week. Finally made it through M3S last week, so we're working on the final Savage fight. Wow, wow, wow.
Remember, until she finishes, you can still get your Arcadian glams into the Discord.
Get them in there. I need more tips. I need more glam ideas. But yeah, I'll probably just be doing a bit of Savage, and I am the proud new owner of a new FC, so we're doing a bunch of chill things to level up the FC. So if you want to come and hang out with me and my friends, Twitch almost every day.
Awesome.
How about you, Debbie?
How about me? I will be streaming a short stream tomorrow afternoon, and then what day is tomorrow? Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. My standard schedule, and then Saturday Extreme. I was too ill to stream it last week, but we did do the Extreme one again, and we got another pair of wings. So we have run it like 22 times, and we saw 2 pair of wings. We only need 3 more, and then everyone has it, because we had some people already who did. So I'm optimistic.
Exciting. Did you get yours yet, or are you still
not yet? Not yet.
Oh,
but
so close.
I feel it in my blood. It's so close. We're averaging 1 a session, so fingers crossed. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about the news.
Likewise.
And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on YouTube. Check out our Discord, links below, and as well the links to the articles we mentioned in this podcast/live stream. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we will see you in game. Bye.
Hi, friends.